Alors, bonsoir. Bienvenue à la séance ordinaire du Conseil municipal de la Ville de Westmount pour le lundi 5 février 2024. Welcome to the regular Municipal Council meeting for the City of Westmount for Monday, February 5th, 2024. It is with regret that I must inform you of the passing of Mayor Smith's father, beloved father, earlier today. I'm sure residents join my colleagues and I in offering the mayor and her family our most heartfelt condolences, and that we will keep them in our thoughts and prayers as they go through these difficult times. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything. No? Okay. So, as uncomfortable as it is in these circumstances, we need to continue with our regular business. So we will move to council updates. Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Premier. We did a very successful consultation on Upper Lansdowne. The residents are extremely happy with the process. They are extremely happy with the results. Also a reminder to pay your property tax bill. It's coming up, so you should have got them by now. You'll see their payment in 2 installments. Thank you. That's all, Madam Premier.
Councillor Chamy. Okay, so we'll go back to Councillor Roux, who should be sitting there and talking about the library. So just a reminder of the Scrabble Club for kids 10 to 13. So that's on Tuesdays, February 6th, 13th, 20th, 27th from 4 to 5 p.m. in the Westmount room. So if you love Scrabble or you want to get better at it, that's the place to go. Also, there's the author event on Tuesday, February 20th at 7 p.m. in the Westmount room. Our special guest will be suspense and thriller author Anne Lambert with Fall Whale and Russell Frelish with True Patriots. March 5th, so during March break for kids 11 to 16, there will be the break stream activity at the Westmount room, and also a reminder that it's Black History Month, and there's a lot to learn about that at the library. At events, it's from February 15th to April 11th. Online is the call for proposals for the 2024 Westmount artists. So Westmount artists are invited to submit their proposal for their next exhibition session of the gallery at Victoria Hall. So it's open to emerging, semi-professionals, or established artists residing in Westmount. Speaking of which, I invite you to go see Sarah Colby's exhibit that's on until February 15th at the gallery. It's beautiful. And then, because we won't be getting a chance to speak to you before then, on February 28th at Victoria Hall at 7 p.m., there's the pub quiz night, so that's a lot of fun. It was packed last year. Bring a team of 6 players or join in the fun. We'll match you with other people. There's prizes and a cash bar, a lot of fun. And then also a lot of fun on Thursday, March 14th at 7 p.m. in Victoria Hall, the St. Patrick's Pub Night. Thank you. Councillor Bostock.
Just a quick update that our Public Works crew is out filling potholes with the warmer weather, the freeze-thaw, the salt, the ice, the weather. Potholes become incredibly evident, so our crews are out when they're not shoveling snow. They are out filling potholes. So if you do see a pothole, please, you can report it on the city's website. You can take a picture and add it to the website, and the crews will get out there to fill those. And then with the warmer weather that's being announced towards the end of this week, they're planning to do some de-icing around schools and seniors' residences where needed to ensure that the mobility of everybody is safe and secure.
Councillor Gallery.
Thank you so much, Pro Mayor. First of all, I just want to thank the Sports and Rec Department for an excellent carnival weekend this past weekend. Murray Hill Park was packed, it was busy, weather was cooperative, and everyone had an awesome time. So it takes a lot of work to pull off these events, and with Mother Nature helping, it was a tremendous day. So thank you very much. Secondly, as everyone should know, this year marks the City of Westmount's 150th anniversary. Our first kickoff event will be Thursday, February 22nd at Victoria Hall, and you can register online. There will be a circus act, music, and the comedic duo Bowser and Blue. So the tickets are $20. We hope Victoria Hall is jam-packed. It'll be a wonderful celebration to kick off the year of many more activities to come. We'll be finalizing the calendar imminently, but it's coming together and will be a busy, great year. Next, I'd like to let everyone know that there's an information session for the Phase 3 of King George Park. It'll be a presentation of the tree planting plan. That'll take place here Monday, February 12th, 5:30 p.m. And again, if you're interested or curious or have questions or comments, you're most welcome to come. It's hard to believe also that our spring registration for our activities begins on Tuesday, February 13th online. So please have a look. All the information's on the website, all the activities. It's a very popular, busy season. So sign up and enjoy what we have available for adults and youth alike. Next, the toboggan run is open. It's icy, so just warning residents to be safe, be careful out there. And the most rinks should be open tomorrow, but the outdoor rinks, but the weather is not looking promising for the coming days, so please check our website for openings and closings. And lastly, just a reminder to get your 2024 Rec Center card. It's just easier for you, it's easier for us, and you're organized for the year. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Aronson?
Thank you, Madame la Mairesse Pro Tem. I've got two short announcements for tonight. One on the subject of citizen engagement and experience. We are thrilled to announce the launch of Westmount's new resident portal, which will be taking place on February the 26th. This is going to be the first phase of our revamped online experience and part of our website's complete redesign, which is going to be rolling out over the spring and summer of this year. This portal is going to serve as a gateway for all of the city's online services in one convenient location. So whether you're reporting a pothole, and please do if you see them, we can't fill them if we don't know where they are, obtaining a dog license, and please do, because your dog really does need a license to be in our dog parks, or applying for a permit or seeking information. Everything you're going to need is going to be in one convenient spot, making it easier for us and our administration to give you, the residents, all the things that you've come to desire from or need from your city. Secondly, the Environment and Sustainability Advisory Committee nominations have now closed. So applications for those citizen seats have wrapped up on January the 31st, and we thank all those who took the time to make an application. We're going to be reviewing them in the coming weeks to create a short list for the approval of council and constitute our committee so we can get rolling on making our city a more sustainable and environmentally friendly place than it presently is, which is, we're doing okay, but we can always do better. Thank you very much, Madam.
Councillor Kaz, nothing? Okay. So before we move on to the question period, those of you in the room and those watching may have seen a new face in the room. So I would like to welcome our new city clerk, Maître Julie Lévitin. Maître Lévitin nous vient avec beaucoup d'expérience du monde municipal et c'est avec enthousiasme que nous entamons cette nouvelle collaboration. And also, not the usual face at the Director General's seat, so Madame Mondeville is out of the city for a few days, so we're in the very capable hands of Mr. Dave Lapointe. So, do we have questions in the room or online? If we do, I would ask you to come up to the microphone, the usual. Identify yourself, give your address, please.
John Fretz, 473 Lansdowne. Greetings.
Good evening,
Acting
Mr.
Mayor
Fretz.
and everyone. I'd like to get some clarification, if possible, on item 17, which is call for public tenders, and we're grouped with a number of municipalities. So my question is really, by undertaking this, whatever it is, initiative, do we still retain individual priority if we want to go with, say, I think our composting company is something called like Ricola or Nicola, or are we obliged to go along with the herd and take whatever is communally brought into play?
As Councillor Aronson will be moving this, I will ask him to answer the question.
Great question, Mr. Fretz. So in order to keep our costs low and to make sure that we don't have a redundant services offered at various different demerged cities across the city, or the Greater Montreal area, we are part of a group of demerged cities that comes together and considers these contracts together. So it's not so much that's going along with the herd. In this particular case, Westmount's leading the pack, and we are the ones who are designated as the responsible entity to undertake this call for tenders this time around. This is a project that has been done en groupe in other circumstances at previous times, and is generally quite successful at making sure that our costs remain reasonable for these services.
But can I just say, so if we want a particular company, do we still have that right, or do we have to go along with the majority vote of whatever company we want?
So we have to go with the lowest conforming bid. That's the law. So even if we were to say, identify a company that we think is just the best company that could possibly offer us services, but the price is not the lowest conforming bid, unfortunately, the rules and regulations that are set by the province require us to take the lowest conforming bid.
Well, I'll be glad to. So in other words, are we giving up anything right now by doing this? I mean, has this been, because the company we have is very good. I watch them work, and they're really terrific, and we live on a hill, So I just would hope that we are still getting what we want in terms of service.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you're satisfied with the present
Yeah,
service.
I mean,
That makes us
great.
very happy, because we do like to make sure we're providing the best service that we can. But no, we're not giving up anything here. If anything, we're going to be taking advantage of cost savings, that safety in numbers, as it were, by being able to offer a larger contract for a group of municipalities. We get more competitive bids.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Richard Dufour from Anwath. Good evening. It's a follow-up to Mr. Fretz's question, actually, for item number 17. It's a question that I had asked probably a couple of years ago. From what I can see on the ordre du jour is that it's a call for tender for the collection and transportation of recyclable materials. Is there a stipulation or condition to whoever gets the contract in terms of what they're going to do with the material afterwards, like a follow-up? We've seen some mismanagement of our recyclable materials in the past, and when I asked the question in the past, you said, well, it was too late, the contract had been given, but in the future that would be considered. So my question is, has council or the direction of Public Works indicated a clause to make sure that Westmount can follow up with what happens to the materials after they're collected?
Well, either Councillor Aronson, but it might not, this is very detailed, so I think this will go to the Director General's office in the administration to get back to us. Because I don't think anyone here knows about the details of the
As a matter of fact, because you'd asked the question in the past, we asked the city clerk's office to specifically look at this particular contract, and I don't want to take words out of her mouth, but she did give us an answer. Would you mind, Madame Le Greffier, to answer the question?
Est-ce qu'on peut s'entendre qu'elle vous revient la prochaine rencontre?
I have the answer.
We have it
Yeah,
Okay.
it's right here. Sorry. The contract stipulates that recyclable materials must be sent to the recycling and sorting center located in Lachine. It's a stipulation of the contract.
Further, the contract provision requires the collection and deposit of the recycled materials. But this is the part of this that we are able to control is that service. So there isn't like a provision in the contract for if the site doesn't do what it's supposed to do with the materials, that then becomes a responsibility of the agglomeration of Montreal that is contracting or is contracted with the service center to actually recycle the materials. Now, that said, If for some reason our recyclable materials were not being recycled, that would be of deep interest to us and every other user of that recycling center, because it would mean that they are not doing the literal thing that they exist to do. So I would imagine that were it the case that the recycling center receiving the recycling were not to actually recycle it, they would be dealing with a very serious legal problem, not just because of the city of Westmount, but because of every single city, redeeming city, and the agglomeration that is contracted with that center to actually recycle these materials.
Thank you.
I hope that answers the question.
So from what I understand is that the only jurisdiction that Westmount has is in giving a contract to collect and transport, but you have no say in how it's managed after that.
That's correct.
Something that's from a
So-
larger scale, and Westmount has no say in that. Is that what
Right.
you're saying? Really?
So if it were the case that the contractors that were picking up our recycling were not bringing it to the recycling center, but just driving it out into the wilderness and dumping it, that's something that we can do something about. But if their job is to collect it from our residents and bring it to the designated recycling depot. Once the recycling leaves the control of the contractors who collect it, it becomes the responsibility of the agglomeration and the City of Montreal to ensure that the recycling center that is being paid to recycle this material actually does so.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Merci. Any other questions?
Janice Kraut, 3745 The Boulevard. Good evening.
Good evening.
Just to revisit again our Hydro Westmount problem, the numbers that you presented in the budget don't seem to reflect what you're saying. And so my question is, are you being forthright with residents as to the true financial situation? Sorry. You first at the last meeting I asked the question, is kilowatt consumption over the last 3 years stagnant, increasing, or decreasing? You've studied this for 2 years. You were commissioner of Hydro Westmount.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you, the honorable resident, for your question. I think last month the mayor and I put out a statement. In fact, the mayor was very clear. It was actually in the Independent how the importance of Hydro Westmount's sustainability and efficiency, and that we've put out an announcement that we're putting out to tender, looking for expert
Okay, that's not
support.
my question.
But I'm going to answer your question
Okay.
with great respect. And that report, that study that we're now looking for expert advice, will give us constructive dialogue, and we made a commitment, the mayor and council made a commitment to come back to residents to answer some of those questions. If I can ask the Commissioner of Finance to weigh in on the question of your assertion about the budget on Hydro Westmount's inside our budget. Commissioner?
Yes, so, Ms. Kraut, the budget that's on the internet, the operating budget, shows the amount before the pay-as-you-go, which is a net income.
Okay, you haven't answered my question.
Okay.
Question is, are we consuming more electricity? You have a kilowatt, we all have meters. Are we consuming more with warmer winters and greater energy efficiency? Is demand for hydro from Hydro Westmount on a unit basis increasing, decreasing,
It's
or
increasing.
flatlining?
It's increasing. I mean, we know the general statistics are we're using more.
How much more, like, is it?
It's a great question. I'll ask the
And
administration.
after 2 years of studying this, and Commissioner,
With
you
great
don't
respect,
know?
I will ask the administration, and we'll get back to you with the
sorry.
answer.
Sorry,
But
the-
to answer you, at 30,000 feet, the climate change is affecting how hot it is in the summer, and our use of air conditioning and cooling, and in the winter, our heating. So yes, there is an increase.
The increase is, as per the budget, it's 5.9%.
No, what she said last week, and this is where I think we need specifics, not wishful thinking, is she said that the number was based on consumption, but there was no backup as to whether that's a realistic trend. So why would it
But
be up
the-
6% this year? We have no population growth, you have no industrial base. Is,
Because there's more consumption.
for what though?
For,
The house sizes aren't really changing. I mean, you either have numbers
but-
and you can
but the
say
real,
that
the real number
last
will be
3
published,
years-
and it will be in the audited financial statement. So that's going to be a number that you can rely on, which has been audited by a third party, which are our auditors.
Okay, but
You
we
will
don't
then
see
have the
those.
real-
Last year, for instance,
Yep.
for 2023, how did the actual revenues come in versus budget? You should know that by
But-
now. Is it up? Is it, I mean, these things have to be monitored on an ongoing basis. They can't be a surprise. We're billed
But-
every 2 months. You projected 30.2 million or whatever the number was. Are we at 29 or are we at 33? I mean, these numbers should be public knowledge at this
I
point.
think, if I can, Commissioner, I think you raise a very good question. We will ask the administration, and we'll get back to you. We'll get you those figures.
You prepare budgets and you don't know this?
Of course we know, but as the
But
Commissioner
I've
said,
answered your question.
Okay,
It
so
went
let
up
me-
by
okay, so
5.9%,
this-
and it's clearly indicated on the budget.
There's no way that consumption is up 6%.
But, okay, it is possible that there may be a change to these numbers. The audited financial statement, which will be audited by our auditors, will confirm the exact number.
Okay, so here's another example. The amount you pay to Hydro Westmount is 75% of every dollar. Every dollar, 75 cents goes to Hydro Quebec.
No, like, I don't think we should be giving out numbers right now.
Mrs.
Well, the
Crowd, I think
numbers-
we all know how
You see,
you feel
that's
about.
the-
No, but the
No, no.
numbers are there. We're
Well, I think
providing you the
because if
numbers,
you're
Ms. Kraut.
presenting, for 10 years, you, and then-
But Mrs. Crowd,
No,
I think
no,
we all.
let me finish, please, because you like to cut off because you don't have specifics.
I like to cut off. I've been letting you speak.
Okay, but let me finish. 75 cents of every dollar goes to Hydro Westmount. The mayor said last week, or last time, that that rate hasn't changed. The budget now says it's 73.4% based on your numbers. You also said that in the budget, you have 2.4 million for pay-as-you-go, but you verbally said it's going to be 4.2 million. I mean, you're preparing a budget, it's got to be based on, there's got to be some consistency. So is it 2.4 as you listed, or is it the 4.2 that the mayor said at the last meeting? This is the problem, is that you're presenting data and you don't have the information, and so it's very hard to have confidence in what you're doing. So you either know
But
what
that's
the-
what a budget is. A budget is, you budget. You're going to have the real number when you have the audited financial statement.
You
It will
budgeted
confirm.
2.4 million for pay-as-you-go, but you said you're spending 4.2 million.
Okay,
Where's the
Mrs. Crowd, I
discrepancy?
think you're not going to get the answers you want here
Because
this
you don't know
evening.
what you're doing.
I think we know how you feel about it.
Can you defend?
We're doing our work. We're hiring experts. We're going to have a very clear mandate. And we're taking into account how you feel. They're going to take in the facts, and I think we can all discuss it further, but I'm not
know
sure
what
where
the
we're going
facts
with
are.
this tonight.
Because you're putting Westmount's finances
Okay.
at risk with Hydro Westmount.
Thank you, Mrs. Kraut.
Okay, and that, we will continue to drive this home.
Okay, thank
Because
you.
you don't have money to fix our roads, you don't finish with the budget,
Okay.
and you probably are funding Hydro Westmount
Okay,
to a
thank
greater
you. As I
extent
said,
than you've
we know.
announced.
Thank you.
I'm Bill Dennis Barrow, 36 Burton. I had cataract surgery, so I'm a little bit off here on my vision. A question on Hydro Westmount, Hydro Quebec. In the article, in the Independent a couple of issues ago, the point was made that Quebec Hydro, or Hydro Quebec, was increasing the rates to these 9 municipalities at a higher rate than it was to its regular customers, the public, and then it wasn't allowing, it wasn't allowing that increase to be passed on. So the question is, it seems to be squeezing these 9 municipalities, and so is the Hydro-Quebec pricing policy and the really putting a crimp into the operations of all these cities?
Well, I think you raise thank you for your question, Mr. Governor. I think you raise a great point. These 9 municipalities 8 of them produced their own hydroelectric power.
Right.
We did in the 20s, when we burnt in the 30s and 40s. So we were, Westmount, as one of the 9 municipalities, Sherbrooke actually produces, Coaticoke, these other cities continue to do so, but we don't. So we are, you're 100% right, we are disadvantaged because these other cities not only supply, but also produce. We supply and maintain and sustain, but we don't produce, and we have to. We're only able to get the rate of the 9. So we're there is a disadvantage for the city of Westmount. What this report of this expert, these energy experts, will give us will show us options that Mrs. Kraut has honorably raised. What are we looking for the future? How do we prepare for yesterday, today, and tomorrow? And we are disadvantaged. We are not on the same playing field as those other 8 municipalities. And maybe there's something we can look at. But we need the data. We need to provide you, the citizens, with this data. The way we've been working has been our legacy, the way we've been doing it for all these years. Because we maintain our own hydroelectric facility where we maintain, sustain, repair, update, operate, but we don't produce anymore. We don't have turbines that produce electric power. That is our disadvantage.
So just to conclude, I guess the amount we're short in terms of revenue collection is we can't pass on the increase. We're covering with tax revenue, I imagine. I mean, the bills have to be paid, so if we don't, I just want to be clear, if we don't collect from on electric bill is not, electricity bill does not include the, it doesn't cover the cost, then it comes out of other cash.
So if I may answer, so there's 2 sides to this equation. So we're buying from Hydro-Quebec.
Yep.
So we're getting a rate from Hydro-Quebec.
Yep.
So I think you're right. We should squeeze Hydro-Quebec to get a lower rate.
Yep.
That's issue number 1. Issue number 2 is what do we charge our customer?
Yep.
Unfortunately, we're regulated by the Bureau de l'Énergie, Office de l'Énergie, so we can't do more than what's by law. So
Right.
it's costing us, like Ms. Kraut says, 73.43% is our cost to that.
Yeah, the market
So there
bill
are
is
2
roughly
things.
a third.
Number 1,
yeah.
we squeeze hydro to decrease the price,
Yep.
or number 2, we increase the price. So we need to negotiate with the Office de l'Énergie or the Bureau de l'Énergie.
So right now, the shortfall is paid out of property taxes, I guess.
Well,
It has to be. I mean, we must pay our bills.
okay,
But Hydro does provide other services than just give us electricity. Westmount Hydro does. I mean, all the street lights is
Yeah, no, I
Westmount
understand
Hydro,
that.
everything that's in the park, all the
I
lumière de
understand that.
circulation, les feux de circulation, that's all done by Westmount
No, I
Hydro also.
understand that.
okay, when you say shortfall, what you mean is the revenues minus the expenses minus the
Yeah.
pay-as-you-go. Okay, so
Exactly.
So if, I mean,
We're
we're
roughly
in
a
a net
million,
income
2 million.
position. So Hydro Westmount produces income, has net income. It's net, but when you deduct the pay-as-you-go,
Yep.
which is really, you wouldn't see this on a normal financial statement. Because
Right.
you would see that on the balance sheet. You
Yeah.
wouldn't see it on the P&L.
Yeah.
So yes, you're seeing the minus 1,357,700, but that's because we're deducting pay-as-you-go.
Yeah.
But it is in a net income position. Not as much as we would like, but it is a net income position.
Okay.
So when you say shortfall, you're including the pay-as-you-go. But if you do this correctly, and if you look at the audited financial statement, you'll see that it's a net income. It's generating a profit. Hydro Westmount generates a profit.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other questions before we move on?
I'm sorry, Richard, Dufour again. Sorry, I'm going to ask an embarrassing question, and I keep hearing the term pay-as-you-go, and I don't know what that means. I apologize. Could you just explain that to me?
So the pay-as-you-go is when we're paying for capital things through the operating. So we're not going out to borrow. That's the pay-as-you-go. This was done in the past.
So it means we're paying with the money that we have on hand as opposed to borrowing money
Or
And
taking
on
it from
interest.
accumulated surplus, but not going out to borrow. That's the definition of pay-as-you-go.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, all good? We can move, anything online? Any questions online?
Actually, we received an email, a question by email
Yes,
online
you can read it for us.
from Mr. Frederick Girvan. Madam Mayor Smith, at last Mount's council meeting, I asked about the unfair expenses Montreal has passed on to residents of Westmount. My question was eloquently answered by confirming several demerged municipalities have also received inflated bills from Montreal. Beaconsfield claims 15 million plus interest so far and will increase to 19 million next year if nothing changes. Here's my question. What is your best estimate for Westmount residents being overbilled by Montreal? You can round it off to the closest million.
The question was addressed to Mayor Smith, who unfortunately is not here, and I think she's the best one to answer the question, as she's the one who sits at the AGLO. So I'm sorry, Mr. Gervin, but we'll wait for the next meeting when Mayor Smith is there to make sure you get a proper answer and I don't tell you something inaccurate. Is that the only question?
Yes, it is.
Okay, then we will move forward with our agenda of the evening. So we can start with the adoption of the agenda. Councillor Bostock.
I move that the agenda of the regular council sitting of February 5th, 2024 be adopted with the addition of the following item under new business. 23.1, appointment, Assistant Director, Public Works Department.
Seconder, Councillor Gallery. Everybody in approval? Confirmation of minutes. Councillor Bostock again.
I move that the minutes of the regular council sitting held on January 15, 2024 be approved.
A seconder? Thank you. Yes? Everybody in favor? OK. Rapport du Conseil, correspondance. Les documents suivants sont déposés. Liste des règlements adoptés lors de l'Assemblée ordinaire du Conseil d'agglomération du 21 décembre 2023. Lettre du service du greffe de la Ville de Montréal ayant pour objet Assemblée du Conseil d'agglomération du 21 décembre 2023, résolution CG 230753. Résolution de contrôle intérimaire, protection des milieux humides, accompagnée d'une copie des résolutions numéro CG 230753 et CG 230754. Lettre du service du greffe de la Ville de Montréal ayant pour objet Assemblée du Conseil d'agglomération du 21 décembre 2023, résolution CG 230773, projet de règlement P-RCG 14-029-6 intitulé « Règlement modifiant le schéma d'aménagement et de développement de l'agglomération de Montréal » RCG 14-029, accompagné du projet de règlement P-RCG 14-029-6 de son document d'accompagnement et de la résolution CG 230773. Règlement 04-047-256 de la Ville de Montréal, règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal 04-047 relativement au lot 1 179 377 et 5 69 561 du cadastre de Montréal, ainsi que le certificat de publication de l'avis public concernant l'entrée en vigueur du dit règlement. Règlement 04-047-257 de la Ville de Montréal, règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal 04-047, ainsi que le certificat de publication de l'avis public concernant l'entrée en vigueur du dit règlement. 6.2, le procès verbal du comité... Oui. Pas que j'ai lu, qui est écrit comme ça, c'est ça? Madame la greffière?
C'est le cadastre du Québec, effectivement.
OK, alors je relis. Quel point, Councillor D'Amico? Urbanisme de la ville. Ah, du cadastre du Québec. Puis, c'est moi qui ai lu Montréal, alors. Ah, excusez-moi. Bon, alors, je relis. OK, excusez-moi. OK. Règlement 04-047-256 de la Ville de Montréal. Règlement modifiant le plan d'urbanisme de la Ville de Montréal. 04-047 relativement au lot 1 179 377 et 5 69 561 du cadastre du Québec. Montréal était écrit juste au-dessus, c'est comme ça que j'ai fait. Cadastre du Québec, ainsi que le certificat de publication de l'avis public concernant l'entrée en vigueur du dit règlement. On est conforme? C'est bon?
C'est bon.
OK, merci. Procès verbal du comité plénier. Councillor Bostock.
The minutes of the General Committee of Council meeting held on December 18, 2023 are tabled and are available on the city's website.
Thank you. Don't need a seconder, do we? No, okay. Minutes of the Finance and Administration Committee. Councillor Shammy.
Le procès verbal de la rencontre de la Commission des finances et de l'administration tenue le 25 octobre 2023 est déposé.
Thank you. 6.4, minutes of the Transportation Advisory Committee. Councillor Bostock.
The minutes of the Transportation Advisory Committee meetings held on June 29, July 25, October 10, and November 14 are tabled and are available on the city's website.
Thank you. 6.5, workforce report. Councillor Shammy.
Le rapport de la main-d'œuvre pour le mois de décembre 2023 est déposé.
Merci. Payment registry. Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la mairesse suppléante. La liste des paiements pour le mois de décembre 2023 est déposée.
Thank you. 6.7, list of approvals in virtue of bylaw 1507. Councillor Shammy.
Conformément au règlement 1507 sur la délégation de pouvoir à certains employés de la Ville de Westmount, la liste d'autorisation de dépenses pour le mois de décembre 2023 est déposée.
Thank you. 6.7, list of duties on transfer invoices. Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Pro Mayor. The list of duties on transfers for the month of December 2023 is tabled.
Thank you. Tabling of the statement of intérêt pécunier. So, sorry. Madame la greffière, je pense que c'est à vous, ça.
Yes, in accordance with Section 358 of an Act respecting elections and referendums in municipalities, the City Clerk confirms that Mayor Christina Smith and Councillors Anita Bostock, Mary Gallery, Kathleen Ketz, Elizabeth Roux, Matt Aronson, Antonio D'Amico, and Conrad Pert, and Jeff Shemi, have submitted an update of their respective annual statement of pecuniary interests.
Thank you. You did better than me with the interest there. Okay, so item number 7, Councillor Bostock, adoption of council's position on the items to be submitted to the Montreal Urban Agglomeration Council.
I move that the mayor, or in her absence, the acting mayor, be authorized to make any decisions she deems necessary and in the best interest of the City of Westmount and its residents regarding the items on the agenda of the Montreal Urban Agglomeration Council meeting to be held on February 22nd, 2024.
Thank you. A seconder? Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Okay. Councillor Bostock, we're keeping you busy this evening. Number 8, Hooked on School Day support from the City of Westmount.
I'll read the whereases for this one. Whereas the Hooked on School Days HSD campaign, which brings together several partners, will be held from February 12th to February 16, 2024, under the theme for the future, perseverance is always in the present tense, and that these days are intended to be a high point in the year, demonstrating the collective commitment to the academic perseverance and success of all students. Whereas the support and kind presence of all adults is paramount in academic success, whereas the elected municipal officials want to show their solidarity and support for the youth and for all actors in the education network, whereas the elected municipal officials collaborate in the efforts of the Montreal community in the area of school perseverance and educational success, among others, those through the initiatives Les élus s'engagent of Concertation Montréal, I move that the City of Westmount proclaim the week of February 12th to February 16, 2024 as Hooked on School Days, that the city unanimously and publicly express its solidarity and support for the youth and for all actors in the education system, sorry, and that the city support the Hooked on School Days HSD 2024 campaign under the theme For the Future, Perseverance is Always in the Present Tense, and invite elected officials to participate.
Thank you. And file, would anybody like to add anything? No? Ah oui, c'est fantastique. Les jeunes, des fois, quand vous êtes découragés, ça vaut la peine de donner un petit coup d'extra parce que le succès passe vraiment par l'éducation. And to the adults, make sure you're there for the kids and to encourage them to keep going. Councillor D'Amico? You'd like to second that? Thank you. Everyone in favor? Oops, I'm not supposed to. Okay, not used to my not voting. So, number 9, renewal of the boundaries of electoral districts, 2025 municipal elections. Councillor Gallery. Shammy, sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Madame Pro-Mayor. I'll read the whereases. Whereas the City of Westmount proceeds with the division of its territory into electoral districts every 4 years. Whereas before March 15th of the year preceding a general election, a municipality may, under certain conditions, apply to the Commission de la représentation électorale du Québec to renew the division of electoral districts in effect on its territory. Whereas the current division of the city into electoral districts complies with Section 9, 11, and 12, or Section 12.01 of the Act respecting elections and referendums in municipalities, CQLR CE22, hereinafter the Act. And whereas the attached table of electors indicates the number of electors for each of the electoral districts in effect, and confirm that the variances are less than 15% in accordance with Section 12 of the Act, I move, Madame Pro-Mayor, that the City of Westmount apply to the Commission de la représentation électorale du Québec for confirmation that it meets the conditions required to proceed with the maintaining of the division of the territory of the municipality into electoral districts currently in effect on its territory for the purpose of the 2025 general election.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Kez? All those in favor? Thank you. Number 10, adoption of policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Councillor Shammy again.
Thank you, Madame Pro-Mayor. Whereas, I'll read the whereases. Whereas many social changes are taking place and are reflected in the culture of the workplace, and whereas issues of diversity and inclusion are at the heart of our society, whereas the City of Westmount wishes to put forward its commitment to a culture of openness, I move that the policy, diversity, equity, and inclusion be adopted.
Thank you. A seconder? Councillor Gallery. All in favor? Number 11, collective agreement 2020 to 2026, syndicat d'écoles bleues regroupés de Montréal, SCFP 301. Councillor Shammy, we're giving Councillor Bostock a break.
Thank you. I'll read the whereases because this was a very important milestone. Whereas the collective agreement between the City of Westmount and the Syndicat d'écoles bleues regroupés de Montréal, SCFP 301, expired on December 31st, 2019, whereas on August 9th, 2023, an agreement was reached in principle between the parties, and whereas the majority of blue-collar employees have accepted the content of the new collective agreement, and whereas the Director of Human Resources recommends the approval of the Municipal Council for the said agreement, I move that the collective agreement for the blue-collar employees be ratified for the period from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2026, and to authorize all expenses related to the retroactive payment as of January 1st, 2020, in accordance with the decision-making file number 2024-2158, and that the mayor, the Director General, the Director of Human Resources, or the Assistant Director of Human Resources, and the Human Resources Advisor be authorized to sign the new Westmount Blue Collar Collective Agreement for and in the name of the city.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bostock. All those in favor? Number 12, appointment, person in charge of electric services. Councillor D'Amico.
Merci, Madame la suppléante. Attendu que le gouvernement du Québec offre des services électroniques offrant un accès rapide et sécuritaire qui permet d'effectuer des transactions avec Revenu Québec, attendu qu'il y a lieu de nommer une personne responsable des services électroniques pour la ville de Westmount, je propose que le directeur adjoint du service des finances soit nommé responsable des services électroniques et soit autorisé à inscrire la ville de Westmount au fichier de Revenu Québec, à gérer l'inscription de la ville à Clic Sécure Entreprise, à gérer l'inscription de la ville à Mon Dossier pour les entreprises et généralement à faire tout ce qui est utile et nécessaire à cette fin, à remplir les rôles et assumer les responsabilités du responsable des services électroniques décrits dans les conditions d'utilisation de Mon Dossier pour les entreprises, notamment en donnant aux utilisateurs de la ville ainsi qu'à d'autres entreprises une autorisation ou une procuration, à consulter le dossier de la ville et agir au nom et pour le compte de la ville pour toutes les périodes et les années d'imposition passées, courantes et futures, ce qui inclut le pouvoir de participer à toute négociation avec Revenu Québec en ce qui concerne tous les renseignements que Revenu Québec détient au sujet de la ville pour l'application ou l'exécution des lois fiscales, de la loi sur la taxe d'assises, LRC 1985, chapitre E, trait d'union 15, de la loi facilitant le paiement des pensions alimentaires, RLRQ, chapitre P-2.2, en communiquant avec Revenu Québec pour tous les moyens de communication offerts par téléphone, en personne, par la poste et à l'aide des services en ligne.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bostock. All those in favor? 13, mandate for legal services, Pomerleau Inc., Councillor Gallery.
Thank you, Madame Pro-Mayor. I will read the whereases. Whereas in 2012, the City of Westmount awarded a contract to Pomerleau Inc. for the construction of the Westmount Recreation Center using the design-build method, Resolution Number 2012-02-31. Whereas in accordance with the terms of said contract, Pomerleau Inc. had the obligation to perform its duties and fulfill its obligations in accordance with the standards of its profession, such as the CSA standards. Whereas Pomerleau Inc. failed to fulfill its contractual obligations with respect to the embedding of the concrete slab. Whereas Pomerleau Inc. refuses to correct the deficiency to make it compliant with standards. I move that the city authorize the participation in a settlement conference to negotiate a compensation with Pomerleau Inc. and WSP Canada Inc. That the city authorize the law firm BMMD Avocats, SENCRE, CRL, to represent its interests at the settlement conference against Pomerleau Inc. and WSP Canada Inc. regarding the breach of their contractual and normative obligations during the construction of the swimming pool of the Westmount Recreation Center. That the Director of Legal Services and the Director of Engineering be authorized to participate and represent the city at the settlement conference. That the Director of Legal Services and the Director of Engineering have the necessary authorizations to propose offers and counteroffers for settlement of the file.
Thank you, Councillor Gallery. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bostock. All those in favor? Aye. Number 14, approval of a system of bid weighing and evaluating professional services. Councillor D'Amico.
Thank you, Madam Pro-Mayor. I move that the city adopt the weighting and evaluation system attached to this resolution as an integral part thereof for calls for tenders for professional services. That said system of bid weighting and evaluating be used for all the calls for tenders for professional services evaluated at over $133,800 unless otherwise specified by way of resolution of council, and that said system of bid weighting and evaluating be valid for the year 2024.
Thank you. A seconder? Councillor Kez. All those in favor? Aye. Number 15, request for proposal, conversion and migration of ICEO-RAO/policy web software. Councillor Kaz.
Thank you. Whereas a request for proposals was sent for the conversion and migration of the ICO-RAO police web software, and that in conformity with Bylaw 1556 on contract management, the déclaration relative aux mesures prises pour assurer la rotation co-contractant is submitted at this meeting. Whereas Section 573.3 of the Cities and Towns Act, CQLR C-19, provides that Section 573 and 573.1 of the said Act pertain to a call for tenders, do not apply to a contract whose object, which stems from the use of software packages or software product, is to ensure compatibility with existing systems, software packages, or software products. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $72,972.61 in including tax and credits for the conversion and migration of the ICO-RAO police web software. To award to ICO Technologies, Inc. the contract for this purpose in accordance with its proposal for a maximum of $79,914.52, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual document of the request for proposals. To allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2156. And a little background is just the RAO system used by public security is based on aging technology, for which the ICO will help with several improvements and features. This new web-oriented solution will facilitate the migration process and is part of a desire to modernize the city's information system. That's it.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Bostock. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 16, call for tenders by invitation, supply of Itronic electric meters, INV-2024-002. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madame Pro-Mayor. I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $184,250.64, including tax credits, for the supply of Itron electric meters, tender invitation number INV 2024-002, to award to GF Tech Controls, Inc., the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $211,842.17, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders by invitation, INV 2024-002, and finally to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2145.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Gallery. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 17, what was of interest to many in the room. Call for public tenders, collection and transportation of recyclable materials for the cities of Pointe-Claire, Côte-Saint-Luc, Westmount, and Dollard-des-Ormeaux. PUB-2023-
to this meeting. And whereas, following the analysis of the open tenders, WM Quebec Incorporated is the lowest conforming bidder as it appears from the report prepared by our purchasing division, also submitted to this meeting. I move, and this is in multiple parts, so stay with me here. I move to award to WM Quebec Incorporated the contract for the collection and transportation of recyclable materials for the cities of Pointe-Claire, Côte-Saint-Luc, Westmount, and Dollard-des-Ormeaux. Again, this is tender number PUB 2023-040 at its bid price for a maximum amount of $3,228,268.79, including taxes. And this is for the period of April the 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2027, with 2 options for renewal for a period of 12 months each. And all of this is in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders, previously noted as PUB 2023-040. Now that's a lot of money, but that covers everybody. So I further move to authorize the expenditure in the amount of $499,645.17, including tax credits, for the portion of the contract servicing the city of Westmount. That's the thing that we're actually paying for out of our coffers. And finally, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2024-2156.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Gallery, all in favor?
Aye.
Number 18.
Madam Premier, before we move on, can I just
Oh, sorry.
just specify, for those who have been watching this file closely, especially relative to the changes we're making in collection for landfill, our recycling schedule will remain the same. There will be weekly pickup. It remains on Wednesdays. For commercial buildings, it will be on Tuesdays. But we are making no cuts whatsoever, no reductions whatsoever to recycling services because with the reduction of pickup for landfill for some parts of the year, our recycling services are going to become far more important as a service. So we urge all of the residents to please start thinking now about what more we can do to use that recycling system, make sure to sort their recyclables correctly, and especially to clean any contaminants off of recycled materials before they put them out to be collected. Thank you very much, Madam.
Thank you, Councillor Aronson. So 18, call for public tenders, rental of a temporary modular complex, PUB-2023-056. Now that Councillor Bostock has gotten a bit of a rest.
I move to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $620,686.10, including tax credits for the rental of a temporary modular complex, tender number PUB 2023-056, to award to Williams Scotsman of Canada, Inc., the contract for this purpose at its bid price for a maximum amount of $679,732.20, including taxes, the whole in conformity with the contractual documents of the call for tenders PUB 2023-056, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file number 2023-2125.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Shammy, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Number 19, renewal of a contract, supply of cybersecurity services. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madame Premier. Whereas on December 19th, 2022, the Municipal Council confirmed the awarding of a contract on an urgent basis for the supply of cybersecurity services to FQM Services, Coopératif de Solidarité, resolution number 2022-12-233. Whereas the Director of Digital Information Technologies recommends renewing the contract for the period from November 21st, 2023 to November 20th, 2024. I move to authorize the renewal of the contract awarded to FQM Services, Coopératif de Solidarité, for the supply of cybersecurity services, Resolution 2022-12-233, for the period from November 21st, 2023, there's a typo, to November 20th, 2024, for a maximum amount of $141,396.26, including taxes, and to authorize an expenditure in the amount of $129,113.63, including tax credits, for the purpose of this contract. And finally, Madame Premier, to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file 2024-2153.
Thank you. Before we go further, the typo was picked up. There's an inversion between two numbers. Okay, thank you. A seconder? Councillor D'Amico. Everyone in favor? Aye. Thank you. Number 20, modification to a contract negotiations collective agreement between the City of Westmount and the Syndicat d'Écoles Bleues Regroupées de Montréal, SCFP 301. Councillor Shammy.
Thank you, Madame Premier. I guess I should read the whereases for this modification. Whereas in 2021, the contract for a negotiation mandate for the renewal of the collective agreement between the City of Westmount and the Syndicat d'Écoles Bleues Regroupées de Montréal, SCFP Section Locale 301, request for proposals DDP 2021-033, was awarded to the firm Les Avocats Lecor et Associés for a total of $44,771.27, including taxes, for a total of 118 billable hours. Whereas on November 7th, 2022, Council authorized an additional expenditure for the said contract. Resolution 2022-11-279, whereas an additional expenditure is required to cover fees incurred for the general consultations in 2023, I move that an additional expenditure be authorized in the amount of $28,806, including taxes for the negotiation mandate for the renewal of the collective agreement between the City of Westmount and the Syndicat d'écoles bleues regroupées de Montréal, SCFP 301, with the firm Les Avocats Lecor et Associés, SENCRL, and to allocate this expenditure in accordance with the financial information included in the decision-making file 2024-257.
Thank you. We have a seconder, Councillor D'Amico. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Numéro 21, adoption règlement 1605 visant à On recommence. 21, adoption règlement 1605 visant à modifier de nouveau le règlement concernant le zonage 1303. Madame la greffière?
Oui, alors les copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil et mises à la disposition du public en temps opportun. Donc, l'objet de ce règlement est de modifier plusieurs dispositions du règlement concernant le zonage afin de corriger des enjeux d'interprétation et de cohérence, ainsi que de mieux encadrer l'installation de certaines structures.
Merci beaucoup. Do I have a declaration by each member of council present that he or she has read the bylaw? Councillor Gallery.
Thank you. I move that bylaw number 1605 entitled Bylaw to Further Amend Bylaw 1303 Respecting Zoning be adopted.
All those in favor? No? Oops, sorry. Yes, give me... Okay, I declare that bylaw number 1605 entitled Bylaw to Further Amend Bylaw 1303 Respecting Zoning having been duly adopted, it is ordered that notices be given as required by law. Numéro 22. Adoption règlement 1606 afin de modifier de nouveau le règlement 1305 sur les plans d'intégration architecturale, construction devant l'alignement de construction et enseigne temporaire. Madame la greffière. No?
I'm sorry, just to go back to the previous point, 21, we need a seconder for the adoption.
Sorry. Councillor Bostock.
And the vote?
And we vote? Okay.
Thank you. So,
I wish I could tell you practice will make perfect, and be patient with me, but this is a one-time deal. You'll be in good, competent hands next time, but thank you for your patience this evening. Okay, so, numéro 22, on est correct là? Est-ce que je relis 22 ou je
non,
vous
c'est
passe?
bon, on peut reprendre, je pense.
On reprend 22? OK. Adoption, ouais, on va y aller en français. OK, alors je vous le passe, Madame la greffière, je n'ai pas besoin de relire? OK.
Ça va. Donc, les copies du règlement ont été pardon, je reprends. Les copies du règlement ont été remises à tous les membres du Conseil et mises à la disposition du public en temps opportun. Donc, l'objet du règlement 1606 est d'assurer la cohérence avec les dispositions du règlement concernant le zonage, faisant suite aux modifications prévues au projet de règlement 1605.
Merci. Do I have a declaration by each member of council present that he or she has read the bylaw? Thank you. Councillor Gallery.
Thank you. I move that bylaw number 1606 entitled Bylaw to Further Amend Bylaw 1305 on Site Planning and Architectural Integration Programs, Construction in front of the building line and temporary signage be adopted.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Aronson. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. So, que le règlement numéro 1606, intitulé Règlement afin de modifier de nouveau le règlement 1305 sur les plans d'intégration architecturale, construction devant l'alignement des constructions et enseignes temporaires ayant été adopté, il est ordonné que les avis soient donnés conformément à la loi. I don't think there's any new business.
23.1.
I don't have 23.1. Okay, sorry about that. It's not yours, it's ÉTRE's. Okay. So 23.1, new business. Appointment, Assistant Director, Public Works Department, Councillor Bostock.
Whereas according to Section 71 of the Cities and Towns Act, CQLR C-19, the council shall appoint by resolution such officers and employees as it deems necessary for the administration of the city and shall fix their salaries. Whereas on April 1st, 2019, the Municipal Council adopted the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel, whereas the position of Assistant Director of Public Works Department is currently vacant, whereas the Interim Director of Human Resources recommends the appointment of Mr. Titouan Periola to the position of Assistant Director of the Public Works Department. I move that Mr. Periola be appointed to the position of Assistant Director of the Public Works Department, Grade 5, effective March 4th, 2024, in accordance with the salary recommendations stipulated in the decision-making file number 2024-2163, and according to the terms provided in the working conditions and remuneration of management personnel, and that this appointment be on a permanent basis once Mr. Periola has completed a probationary period in accordance with Section 2 of the Working Conditions and Remuneration of Management Personnel.
Thank you. A seconder? Thank you. Councillor Aronson? Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So this brings us to our second question period. Are there any new questions?
Where can I find the actual revenues for Hydro Westmount and the actual capital cost versus budget? Because nobody here seems to know what the trend is.
So the audited statements for the city, you can find them on the MAMH website.
The what,
where-
sorry?
The MAMH, it's the Ministère des Affaires Municipales et Habitation. What we're going to try to, what we're trying to do is we're going to probably put a link on our website so that you could click on the link and go directly there, or we will put the audited financial statements directly on our website. I'm working on that with the finance department. So we're working on that so that that information is transparent and available to you.
But you don't know whether the Westmount Hydro revenues have been up or down over the last 5 years, other than the rate increase that you get from Hydro-Quebec, or you're allowed by Hydro-Quebec.
Again, I refer you to the audited financial statements, which are audited by a third party, which are,
But you can't comment. You don't know as Commissioner of Finance whether that trend is up, down, sideways.
no,
All
because
right, it just confirms to me.
we don't give preliminary information. We
Well, no,
give
but
you
for the
we give you the
last
real
5
info,
years,
you
these are
want
for
the
the
real
la-
information, so we
These are
give you.
no, not 2023, it might not be out, but for 2020 to 2022, they must be out.
Yeah, we can
But
provide you with
don't-
that.
but you
We
don't
can
know what
provide
they-
you,
But you don't know what they are.
I could look them up for you, but,
Okay, thank you.
no problem.
Thank you, Mrs. Crett. Mr. Bureau?
Dennis Barrow, 36 Burton. First, I'd like to say, Madame Première, you were perfect tonight. No apologies required, zero.
You're very
You're
kind,
perfect.
very kind. You'll understand that in the circumstances, there wasn't much heads up on this and time to practice,
I
so
don't think
thank you.
you don't need a heads up.
Thank you.
Just a quick question on the diversity, equity, and inclusion adoption. These days, it's very controversial all over. So my question here is, what does it mean for Westmount to have, I mean, this is a policy, but what does it mean in terms of steps, actions? You know, are we going to see anything? Is there a process that people will follow? Or is this a policy that just stands and sort of disappears over time? That's my question.
No, I think it's for us, I mean, my colleagues can chime in, but for every employee in Westmount to feel comfortable working here, no matter who they are, what they are, where they're from, and to make it comfortable for everyone to work in Westmount, being a good atmosphere, nice place to work for everyone. The everyone is the important word here.
It's also the hiring practices, the job descriptions, it's work environment, it's ensuring that whether you're working in public works, public security, sports and recreation, the library, that we're recruiting the best candidates for the position, but also ensuring that we're working in a diverse and in a diverse environment. So it's just, it's checks and balances to make sure that what we're doing behind the scenes is translating to our workforce.
So will these checks and balances be visible to the people doing the hiring? I'm just concerned that, in other words, how are you going to build in diversity in the hiring process? Will there be something there, a step that somebody goes through, somebody in HR or somebody and looks and says, you know, we're short in this group, we could do more with this group, or we could do more with that group, or we have, you know, all white staff. In
There's
this
a
area.
weighting system when you're doing an interview process in
Right.
any environment.
Right.
It's skill set in a position, it's fit with the organization. So there's a whole pile of criteria, and it's to ensure that we're attracting a diverse
Right.
population to apply for the positions that we're putting out, right? So it's work culture as well, ensuring that the work culture is inclusive so that people from diverse cultures are interested in applying for positions, as opposed to the stodgy sort of previously perhaps paler.
My follow-up question on that is, though, if that is in place right now, what is the purpose of this policy then?
Go for it.
We can always strive to improve everything that we do.
My last comment on systemic racism. 2.5 years ago, the City of Montreal put out their report. All you councillors, everybody here read it. There was all sorts of speeches, discussions. We're going to look at this. We're going to read this carefully. We're going to see how it applies to Westmount. We're going to incorporate the recommendations. A year later, I asked, and you remember what the answer was? We support body cams for the police. That was the whole conclusion of the city of Westmount. Body cams. That was Mayor Smith talked about it. You know, police, body cams. And this is one of the issues in the report on systemic racism, in that certain groups, certain parts of our society were singled out, and body cams would tamper it down or make people more concerned, more aware. But that was all. And I mean, if I ask now, what is the city of Westmount doing? I mean, I'm just frustrated in that these are policy, these are nice words, but nothing happens in the end, nothing concrete. Thank you.
Just on that point, sorry, in terms of saying things and using buzzwords and not implementing, I just want to comment, and we'll get to it, voter engagement, which was after the record low voter turnout in 2021. You talked about voter engagement, improving it, trying to get people involved. As we say, actions speak louder than words. You've moved where people can talk to their councillors because they don't return phone calls, as Councillor D'Amico has not returned my phone calls. You've reduced the meetings to once a month, so you've eliminated that ability to interact. You then had the online box where people could ask questions. That got shrunk last week or last time to, like, I don't know, 300 characters. My question wasn't read out. Another resident's question wasn't read out, which was in contravention of procedure, is my understanding. And tonight, the questions, now you have to put your question you had all day before. Now you have to only put it in during the meeting. So you talk a sweet, line, voter engagement, let's improve. And on the other hand, you're reducing every opportunity to communicate. And I don't know, how do you increase voter engagement if you're constantly reducing communication?
If I may,
I will answer that. Ms. Kraut, as you know, we did meet face-to-face. There was myself, the mayor, there was the commissioner for development, You had specific questions regarding how the Mayor's Street was built. We sat down with you, we had the engineering person, we explained all that to you. We then had another follow-up meeting. You had specific questions regarding Hydro Westmount. I was not physically there, but it was the Commissioner of the Environment and the Commissioner of Hydro Westmount. We have attempted to answer your questions. It is true that you send me sometimes emails and I don't respond because we have provided you with the responses. So,
That you haven't, because you don't follow through. So to go back to.
but
Okay.
you had specific questions
Okay.
regarding, for example, the boulevard, your
Right.
street, the boulevard.
And you told me there was a survey coming last February.
Yes,
The mayor said almost 4 years ago, the boulevard's coming. The
It is
boulevard
coming.
is not, well, we're 2024, there's
Yes.
been nothing. So when you keep saying
but
things.
you are going to get your opportunity to provide your input on the reconstruction of the boulevard. We just finished Upper Lansdowne. We're going to use what we learned on Upper Lansdowne. We're going to use what we learned on Claremont and Forden, and you're coming up. So the boulevard, we've already started work on the boulevard, which is the side streets going up, so we are preparing for the boulevard. So you are going to get your opportunity to be heard regarding the planning and reconstruction of the boulevard.
And what's
Not
the-
to worry.
and what's the timeframe?
But I think we can, there's certain things we've done that we can be proud of. We consulted for Upper Lansdowne, we consulted for the park, there's another information session. We'll be doing the same thing for Forden Crescent, we'll be doing the same thing for Claremont. So I do see a change since the last election. It may not be perfect, but I think we're on the right
So
track.
then
and-
why are you limiting people's questions online and not allowing them and?
But
I don't know that we are, and we're
But-
happy to introduce a new
the
clerk to
window.
you,
You've
and
reduced
I'm
the
sure she
window.
will be looking after all of this. So thank you very much, Mrs. Kraut, and everybody else who came. Oh, Not
John
quite.
Fretz, 473 Lansdowne. I would just like to say that I echo Dennis's comments on both accounts. Congratulations, Adam McInerney, you did great. I also think that, you know, we've had zero tolerance for abuse. We've had directives that have been read out here or elsewhere, and that I commend what Councillor Shamey is bringing forth, but in actual terms, what does it mean? I mean, do we have I mean, it's easy to say, yeah, no, let's do this, but like, just, you know, not that we are like, say, a university that has a lot of young people, and very often women get harassed, and then they say, we went to the whoever it was and they didn't do anything. How are we doing? More than like, let's do more, you know? I'd like to just see if you have, or if maybe you don't need to do that exercise.
Councillor Shammy is telling me.
So, thank you for your question, and we have to do more. We'll put out that policy. If the DG says it's okay to put out, to be transparent and show how we set the bar high, how those objectives are important, we must. And Mrs. Kraut raises some good points, as the two of you do. We do have to put it out. We need to be more open on the website. We're trying, we're updating, we're working at it, we're trying to improve our comms. So yes, I asked the DG and the administration, can we put out that diversity, equity, and inclusion policy online, share it with our community, and say this is how we, I don't know the rules and regulations, I'm just the counselor sitting at the table, but I'm asking to follow up with your very good question. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Just a couple of notes before I go. We have a new assistant director for public works. I remember when we brought on the person who I guess was leaving, just a note, can we post something in the Independent so people know these changes are taking place? And they say, oh yeah, you know, we got a new, I think it's very inclusive to do that. And
You're
I just wanna
referring to
say-
Public Works?
What?
Yeah, Assistant for Public Works?
Yeah,
Yep.
that we should post these and maybe give a little bio as to what this person has done in the past. And it just helps make everything a little more inclusive.
Yes.
Well,
Well, Mrs. Sweeney's usually very
Yeah.
attentive at our meetings, so I'm sure she'll be
Yeah,
picking
you
it
know,
up.
I mean,
and
I don't, not that you're not doing a great job, but I mean, I have gone to other councils, and when somebody's brought on, they're right there, you know, and everybody sees them. So I sometimes see that, you know, that what we're kind of, the administration is a bit like phantoms sometimes. We don't really know, you know? And it's a nice thing to have. But not that you're not doing a great job.
Thank you, thank you.
But,
But
the
you're
other
right, I
thing-
mean, Westmount's about community, and community
Yeah,
is knowing the
no,
people, so if you have,
Everyone
you know
believes
who
that,
everybody
and
is, it
everyone
makes it
benefits
more
from that.
comfortable.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
just-
when Lorene listens to this recording, because Lorene Sweeney listens to all of our recordings, she doesn't come in person anymore, but she does listen.
Yeah.
So Lorene, if you're listening, we would like you to please do a little bit of
Yeah.
information on our wonderful new Assistant Director of Public Works.
Thank you. And just one last thing, I mean, this business with the swimming pool, I find really upsetting. I mean, it's been 12 years. I think twice slabs fell off. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the pool that we can't start using it this summer, is there?
No, it's fixed, it's all
It
good.
was all done fixed. We just have to go after Palmer a little. Well, let's do it. Thank you. Okay, good night.
No, I think it's okay. So, thank you very much, and thank you for caring, because if you're here, that's what it is. So, thank you, and this meeting is adjourned. Oh. I'm not a big banger, Jeff. Okay.